asking for a classified video called Flying Saucer Talk from the 50s.
How are you? How's it going? Let's start with the news about what's happening around the world. A big hello, Volador. Look, this Congressman, Burleson, has reportedly been demanding that Harvard University, release a video from their lab called something like Flying Saucer or Flying Disc. It's a video, a recording that they've kept secret since 1952. And it turns out that these universities and also their labs sometimes capture some pretty strange things that are simply classified, censored, or blocked by the universities themselves. And now, with this idea of sharing information about the subject, we have to investigate laboratories, even corporations focused on military matters that might have important information on the topic to help us understand it. That's why I was telling you about this era of declassification that started with these documents that have been released for years now. Well, it's accelerating more and more, especially because every time something is published, those kinds of things come up where people say, hey, what about this company? What about this university that has this and that? Or because many times people already know or already have this information, but no one was demanding anything from them at all. And now with this disclosure, with this information, others also get encouraged and say, well, let this be revealed, or I experienced that. And so this information starts to take off. And well, here we'll be putting together a timeline of this whole situation, to everything that is happening. Pay attention to the following. There's a case involving 3 jets, right? 3 jets or 3 fighter planes had an encounter with a UFO. 13 jets. 13 jets had an encounter with an unidentified flying object. How did that happen?
Among the files they've shown me, there's so much info that it's being broken down gradually. They're highlighting anything that stands out. And well, according to reports from what was pulled out, well, the Disclosure Foundation, a non-profit organization focused on the existence of UAPs, UFOs, has obtained 334 pages from the report released by the United States National Security Agency. And those records include a radar tracking report focused on military and intelligence messages about what appeared on the screen at that time during the Cold War. So yes, it's a file, well, something old, where they talk about an incident where 13 fighter jets were sent to chase a single UFO that had been detected by this military radar. Okay? This file is obviously heavily censored. I mean, it's basically a blacked out document. There isn't much information, but dozens and dozens of incidents involve Soviet-made fighter jets, such as MiG fighter jets, chasing swarms of unknown objects, including a sighting over China and others, where 6 MiG were sent and were seen attacking that UFO.
I mean, MiGs are these Russian planes, right? They're Russian planes, yes, say. So attacking and shooting at this unidentified flying object, that's, well, part of what's being revealed right now. And it shows how strange this situation is. How bizarre, right? This is getting. Exactly.
Exactly. And even though in the same file that was published recently, they say, they were balloons, you know? The classic. Yes. What stands out is that these files, even though they're super censored, they also have the phrase, not just top secret, but top secret Umbra, which is the highest level of secrecy at the NSA for the most secret messages. I mean, it's not just top secret, it's beyond that. Secret, yeah.
I mean, Umbra is what it's called.
Top secret Umbra.
Top secret Umbra is the highest level document. Well, just imagine, we're already talking about objects shooting at them. I mean, actually jets shooting at objects. In this case, well, Russian ones, isn't it amazing how things keep coming up between one declassification and another? Not only from the United States, in this case, for example, from Russia. We have to remember that in that breakup, when the USSR ended, so to speak, we have to remember that many of those documents that the KGB had and that Russia at that time, the USSR had, did not end up in the hands of the United States. They bought the documents to get all the intelligence information before anything else could happen.
Not exactly. And well, to give a little more detail about this particular case, because we just mentioned several. Yes, the one with the 13 planes, according to reports, they sent those 13 planes to chase the UFO. And well, according to what they say, this UFO had 2 yellow lights. It was flying at a low altitude. It changed its course from north to west over that point. It didn't make any noise. We're talking about the 60s and 70s. We're talking about a certain era.
Back when technology wasn't advanced, those objects still appeared and did what...
Exactly. And another description is very similar to the image we've shared of the star, Atha, because they talk about an object that looks like a big star, which, according to the witnesses, went up and down at great speed and at a dizzying height. That's a very high altitude. The report about the star-shaped object is similar to the video that has been published by the Pentagon for about 2 weeks now, right?
Exactly. I mean, now it's starting to emerge, let's say, at least an idea that those objects are not... Like Andres, this one is here. Don't they have a very strange shape? Like, well, a piñata, like a star with spikes? There are images that have been coming up from different sources showing that these objects have been circulating out there, and these photos have been around for a long time, but they were so strange that it was just assumed they must be fake, until suddenly official reports start coming out that specifically address this issue.
Right? And interestingly, the NSA, which is this government office that keeps many secrets of the United States, well, it has been in a fierce battle, they say, to keep parts of these reports from being released, including this 334-page report that remained classified until 2009.
Well, just imagine this. I mean, the attempt at censorship continues, right? We've talked about that too. Some congressmen have already complained about this issue, that they're trying to cover it up. But in the end, there's a growing and powerful force that wants the information to be revealed. But there's also another powerful force that wants it to remain secret. So that's where we are right now, isn't it? That's what we're trying to do. Not only is this full report being released, it's like, as they say, 300 something pages.
Just this one.
Just this one, 334 pages, and it was classified. And little by little, well, this information has to be studied. The reports from the 50s, the 60s, and the 80s. I mean, there's a lot to keep investigating and analyzing, right?
For example, these files, specifically from the NSA, were handed over 10 days before they were released this last time.
10 days before?
10 days before they didn't want to release.
No, man. Not Diego, too. I mean...
They weren't ultra secret anymore, but they still wouldn't give them out, right?
Exactly. Oh, well, that's how things are. Now, the question I have for you is, what are the other countries doing? I mean, supposedly, well, France had said it was going to disclose. Japan also announced recently that they're going to be investigating some cases that don't affect national security. It's always the same, right? The old reliable excuse that with that pretext, they can drag it out for months or years without declassifying anything because, well, national security, that's always the excuse. And if not, the other one that's also the old reliable for many governments is to make fun of the topic. That is like, yeah, sure, haha. And they laugh about it. They downplay it, you know, the classic. And well, with that, they just don't talk about anything at all, right? Let's move on to other matters, because one of the strangest and most important news stories is about a substance that has been appearing in the United States and has already left 19 people hospitalized. We'll cover that detail soon. I want to welcome Karima, Jose Zarate, and Darwin Blanco. Darwin, it's great to see you after so long. Hello.
Darwin.
I hadn't seen you in a while. It's good to know you're well. I hope the same for your family. Tapatia Plus, how have you been? Francisco Arce? Greeting. Nico Goose, Ofe Mendez. Huge shout-outs. Dal's Photography, Nova's dad. Well, a huge shout-out to everyone joining. And well, let's get started with the conversation. If you want and can, give it a like. You know what to do. Share like anything to support the channel. Really, it's greatly appreciated. Dals, how are things in Uruguay? Please tell us, how is everything going? And to our friends in New York, those who are up there in the Northeast, not just in New York, and also here in Coahuila. So tell us about the heat. Today they even mentioned Connecticut, saying it was really hot and people were roasting there. We had a storm, some rain here. It was nice, pleasant, very pleasant. It's very cool.
Honestly, really strange, truly.
That's true. The traffic is chaotic, mostly due to the World Cup. That's it. There's a lot of construction going on, and a lot of it is cool because they're adding some really interesting things that hadn't been developed before. Yeah. Well, News Bulletin 2, like Panterita or Cesar was saying, look at what it says. It says, greetings. It says the US government is very vindictive and only gave false promises, saying they could talk about the UAPs without concessions. That's why I don't believe it. The missing scientists are very concerning. Honestly, and today we discussed a case that doesn't involve a scientist, right? Maybe it's an agent. Over there, they have something like a security agency, an energy agency, or energy security agency. I don't know what they call it. But they also have something like their own badge. What's it called? What do they call it?
Yes.
Their badges, like the police, are a sensitive topic there. I don't post about it because they'll take it down. I'm not sure. If you post a passport or something, you just post it. Yes, even if the passports have the names and everything blocked out, the system detects it and removes it. It either takes out that part of the video or removes it entirely. Well, I get it, but I understand why. Because suddenly you could make someone's personal information public. I understand that they need to be careful. I think that's right. But sometimes it's overdone, and even if you've removed that information, it gets detected automatically. So I didn't want to publish it, but I have that information. I have those photos of him. This person, his name is David, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Chavez, yes, exactly. This man without children, yes. Fed without children is his name. I don't know, it's like the last name Jose. Well, his last name is, let's say, Juan without children. That's not the last name. It's Chavez. Well, this man dies at 56 years old. You say, well, I mean, it's not a very common age to die. But supposedly he had COVID. That's what they say. No, there isn't. I didn't find any. I didn't see any reports from his family confirming or denying it. That's what they say. But a person who weeks before had already told Luis Elizondo that they were pressuring him not to talk. I mean, in these UFO topics, no, then suddenly he turns up dead. And well, how convenient, right? Because that information was never known.
And he's not the first one we've talked.
He's not exactly the first one we've talked about. So it seemed like there really is a powerful force that wants to, well, kind of crush that kind of disclosure, especially in unique cases like this gentleman's. He said that it was the United States Department of Energy that was in charge of obtaining these objects. Non-human, so to speak. UAPs or whatever.
I mean, but that's his job.
No, I mean that agency was just responsible for that information. I imagine it's because they have power, they have security forces, and you know those objects always show up in nuclear areas. And that guy was in charge of something related to tritium, that nuclear material. Yes, so those objects have had a lot of connection to the nuclear issue. I mean, they're always at power plants in nuclear zones. So it's kind of like, that's the excuse. It was like, well, they can investigate. So they investigated this and came across objects that apparently weren't human. And so was he going to reveal that? Because he said they had hidden it? And well, at the last moment, obviously, he was never able to give his version. He was never able to say what happened. And unfortunately, as far as we know, that information, he didn't leave it with anyone else, right? Because you think, well, maybe it'll come out later. Well, as far as we know, he didn't leave it with anyone else, right? Now that the scientists are being discussed again, it's being reviewed to find out who else might be out there, who seems a bit suspicious. He is. Well, it's another case to add. He's not a scientist, but it's another interesting case. There's a substance that left 3 people dead, 19 people in the hospital, which is that 25. That's it. Well, 25.
Yes, because it increased since several rescuers were also affected by this. Well, to begin with, this happened in Montaña over there in Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yes. New Mexico, where, well, a call was received at 911 that people were in very bad condition. It's an unknown substance. It's not exactly known. There's not much explanation about where it's from or anything. It's a rural home. Fortunately, it's very far from other houses. And, well, according to the New Mexico State Police, 3 out of 4 people who were found unconscious have already lost their lives inside the house. And, well, several have had to be taken to hospitals. these 25, I just said 25 people had to be taken for treatment at the Albuquerque hospital. Because, well, the first people who arrived, the rescuers, were exposed to this substance and also began to show symptoms, nausea, dizziness. Did they get sick? Who is a volunteer firefighter from Mountain Montaigne, helped perform CPR on one of the women who was outside the house and saw how the emergency medical people and the firefighters also started coughing. And she says it's very delicate, very delicate, because if even the rescuers themselves are already sick, right? At first, just as an aside.
I mean, at first, no, we were a bit doubtful because it only came out in local media. Nela Información Alguire. I was waiting for it to come out in national media, kind of to, well, Voluntaria Montaigne, to one of what's outside. And now they started. Look, now PBS is there too. PBS is covering it too, and already mentioned symptoms like nausea and dizziness. They mentioned Antonella, a volunteer firefighter. They're 5, but now the local media are already talking about 25. The hospitalized, look there, they still say 22. So the media are already talking about the issue. Sorry, the issue is, well, now there's an emergency. They started coughing. They wear the special suit because they're unsure what they're facing.
What they were exposed to. Some media say it could be a possible drug since it's supposedly a chemical substance. Now, what is it? Who knows? Because Antonella is not Alguire, and some say the firefighter was outside, exposed to it in the air. But rather something they could have touched when grabbing the people in the house, or something they could have touched when grabbing the people, or something like that. Because it hasn't gone beyond that house, not the house, let's say the area. Okay, and is there anything the hospitals are saying, or have they not said anything, Governor? The officials at the University of New Mexico hospitals confirmed that 23 patients who were exposed were evaluated. Antonella is a firefighter. Montaigne helped one of them. They were the ones who did have some symptoms. Then later, some of them were already, if they had any symptoms, then later some were discharged since they no longer had symptoms. That was at the house. The hospital says the medical team began treating 3 people with severe symptoms tonight and will monitor them. 2 rescuers are with Antonella Alguire, which matters. 2 rescuers are in serious condition. Montaigne is among the 3 deceased, and the people outside the house started coughing. No? They would also be in...
Antonella, a volunteer firefighter, helped the women who were outside the house and started. What a good last name. Wilson Silver from the New Mexico State Police and the coughing. From Montonero Emergency Services.
Who is a volunteer firefighter and the head of emergencies in Montaner, Josh Lewis. He assisted at the residence and was hospitalized overnight for observation. The mayor posted online that this is a serious issue, but it's not related to carbon monoxide or natural gas. They are working to try to identify what substance caused this. This is really strange. To our friends who are there in New Mexico or in that area, we ask Antonella Alguire, a firefighter, who is the person responsible for informing about this.
Antonella, if you want to comment, we will be here paying attention. A volunteer firefighter, if you want to comment, we will be here paying attention. She helped to keep updating this information, which is quite curious, right? Exactly. And right now the area is cordoned off so that no one gets close, because there's always someone who wants to go outside.
A volunteer firefighter so that no one gets close, because there's always someone who's curious. She helped one of the women who lost her life, who was outside. So far, 3 people have lost their lives because of this unknown substance. And well, it's a threat to the public.
Besides how strange it is and what it could be the public. I mean, look, when it's about drugs or something like that, I identify what it is very quickly. I mean, they say, well, maybe they've invented something new, right? Or they started to, but normally they say quickly. Well, it was about such and such thing, right? And Antonella Alguire, a volunteer firefighter in such and such a way, right? And that's how it ended, right? I mean, but this time not knowing, it seems strange to me. I mean, at least it's very unusual. It really is unusual, because if it were a gas, it still seems very unusual to me, because if it were a gas, what kind of gas was affecting them? Well, it was a gas leak. It was a volunteer firefighter and it was a leak. Existen más riesgos. South of the United States, be careful with the house, and they started to deal with other matters. So listen. Oigan, this in the Gulf of Oman. We are seeing how it's more common for these ships, some of which are small, medium sized, but the United States, if they don't stop, immediately go and board them. There's no passage. Ahí paso. There are already almost 100 ships that have had to turn back. The area is blocked. And if we look towards this region of the Strait of Hormuz, this area, right? This is the one controlled by the United States. Iranian ships do not pass through here to this area. Likewise, the countries here, not all of them are leaving. About 60 are leaving per day, which, I mean, is a significant number. But they are only ships that are connected with, how do you say it? Connected with Pakistan, connected with China, and with Russia. Mainly, well, basically, it's China mainly. And those are the ones that do have permission to leave, and the United States doesn't say anything to them. So Montaigne helped with the oil that they started to process. They are the ones who are receiving that benefit. And in any case, the same ones, what's it called? Chin. The same ones, well, the Chinese will be taking advantage of the oil prices in a pretty interesting way. At least it's an important temporary business for them. Another topic that Antonella Aguirre talks about is that the oil tanker was clearly Iranian flagged. There was suspicion that it tried to break the naval blockade that's being enforced by a volunteer firefighter. No. En esto, o porque es sospechaban que enrabiar algo más el momento, Montaigne around it. She's a volunteer firefighter from the United States. And CENTCOM ordered the entire ship to be inspected because they suspected the Montaigne. What they do is sometimes they went and inspect the cargo and then the ship has to go back. It can't keep moving forward. It has to return. Even if they go to Iran's things, look, they start to see if we can see it around here. I mean, they go to these areas. I mean, there are ports here. Actually, in this area, there are ports. And here, some Iranian ships are accumulating that can't get over here to this island. This is where they loaded oil, right? The storage tanks are on this island, and there are storage facilities all over the island. And there, whether it's oil, and then on this side, if they're going for gas, it's in this area, right across from Qatar, where Qatar is. Here is Qatar. Here is one from Qatar because the field is off the coast. It's a shared field, interestingly. You know that Qatar is the top gas exporter. Well, that same gas field, it's the same gas field Iran shares. They're both connected and have rights to extract gas there. It helped. Well, it's a really strange thing because at the same time, they're enemies, right? But that's a really strange thing because that's something that's outside of both. And well, that's the situation. That's basically where things stand, right? So they started the negotiating. That's something that's between the two. And they have basically what they're doing, right? So these two Iranian oil tankers today, one of which I mentioned to you this morning. Antonella, as I told you this morning, another ship is leaving today, bringing the total to nearly 100. Montaigne helped divert one of the returned ships from the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. operation continues, and the Iranians are very upset. Estado constantemente reaccionando. El United States operation continues. The Iranians are very upset. They have been constantly reacting in recent days. Yes, well, today Donald was outside. He made his threat public and stated that they have started what he has already repeated several times.
The Iranian Navy and Air Force have disappeared. No. He says the United States will have to finish the job or Iran is going to sign. Well, it's a topic that's still pending. They're in talks. Every day we hear the phrase any minute now. We're in the final stretch. But the comment made today comes from the United States Coast Guard Academy, where it is stated that they might have to finish the job if Iran is not a willing participant. Well, Montaigne said during the day that she helped, that she gave several ultimatums, gave them until outside the house, and they started to leave.
Supposedly, the attacks are starting. This time it seemed very serious, but now we just don't know. Right? Antonella Aguirre, which one is real and which one isn't? Because, you know, she keeps issuing those ultimatums all the time, right? 2.0, 2.5, and what a volunteer firefighter from Montaigne did helped so that Iran wouldn't be left out, just that. Today we were talking about how experts in oil say that this Antonella Aguirre is because the control of the Strait of Hormuz is already consolidated by Iran. They already have several systems here. A volunteer firefighter from Montaigne helped with the registration. They already have it. I mean, they already have it. They already created the whole system of the so-called authority to receive the money and give the permits. They lowered the cost. People started registering outside. They already have it. I mean, they already created it. The whole system of the so-called authority that's in charge of receiving the money and giving the permits, they lowered the cost. And the last figure I checked, they said, was between $100,000 and $150,000, because there were even reports of $150,000 per boat.
Antonella Alguire, firefighter, helped at $3 million per boat. Now they lower. The truth is that right now, I mean, being very objective about it, because we don't agree with the House regime and they started to pay more than lose. I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars Antonella Alguire.
Lose. I don't know. It's one of those outside dollars. That's why they started coughing up
Antonella Alguire.
hermits. No, I mean, they have a blockade. So with the blockade, if you pay them, yes, let's say if Bomera Montaigne helped the United States and cough up.
Antonella is a firefighter Montaigne.
Did she help someone who enforces it? No, because outside they pay differently, even with cash. What Antonella started is very hard.
How do you do it?
I think it helped what Pepe mentioned, but at 24 outside, they started at the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes, yes. And well, the last ones, I think Pepe already mentioned it, but in the last 24 hours, 26 ships crossed the Strait of Hormuz under Navy protection. Truth is, they have no other choice, and I took off.
Let's get otra. What is it called? The next one. Phase, let's say, it's no longer going to be a normal war. I mean, it's not going to be, well, a war mainly by air, but in the next phase, they would already be, let's see, what are the threats from both sides? To make it clearer, the threat from the United States is the next phase will be with stronger weapons by air and then troops, right? I mean, and the threat from Iran, which was stated today, is that the next phase of the war will no longer stay in the Middle East. I mean, it won't just be that attacking Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Israel, or this country from there. But in the next phase, according to them, other places in the world would come into play. They didn't say if it would be the United States, Europe, or elsewhere, just that the next phase would move the war from the Middle East to other continents and regions. And that, well, obviously, I mean, threats can be just words, they can be empty, but some threats they have actually carried out. So,
Not all of them. Yes, the thing is that there are also a lot of crazy people out there, right? That would also be, yes, yes. And the thing is that both countries, both Iran and the United States under Donald Trump, have the same mentality. They think that the longer this goes on, the more they benefit from it, right?
of course,
Iran says the political problem is coming for them, right? They have the midterm elections, which the poor guy, the Republicans are going to lose them. He's pressured by politics, which is something Iran isn't pressured by, but Iran is pressured by the economy. Who will hold out longer? The problem is they both think the same way.
they think the same way, and also both of them are right. Yes, for their strategy, yes. Oh, yes.
Their strategy, yes.
The thing is, because we always say, let's see, the case of the Iranians is existential. I mean, they would cease to exist, right? Exactly, yes. But Donald Trump's situation is also existential for him, for his whole project. I mean, if this doesn't go well, his project falls apart. And he already has many Republicans against him.
That's why he's protecting himself.
He's protecting himself. He's already making sure he has a way out. For example, he's already been pardoned on the tax issue. I mean, no matter what happens, right now there's already a pardon, a self-pardon from the United States government for him and his family. Why? Why is he doing it now? He still has a lot of time left in his administration. Why?
Why don't they remove?
He knows it's possible and says, we should protect ourselves. In other words, they protect the Trump family and their businesses. And with that, well, look, if they end up taking him or something like that happens, he'll be able to keep running his businesses without the problem of taxes.
Because
Clearly, he owed a lot of money. And so, well, with that, he's already protected. There's no way for it to be changed now. At least that's what's being calculated right now. Let's move on to what's also happening with the issue between Iran and Israel.
right? Right here. Well, it turns out that today Iran submitted a proposal. In fact, I think the United States has already submitted a counter proposal. But anyway, this proposal that Iran presented to Donald Trump has, according to 3 sources, sparked discussions between Donald Trump and Netanyahu. Honestly, their relationship isn't great right now. According to reports, they discussed this agreement. It was a difficult call. It was yesterday. Sorry, this call was on Tuesday. One of the sources said that Netanyahu was burning with rage after the call. I mean, so he's really upset. According to the sources, Qatar and Pakistan drafted a revised peace memorandum with the collaboration of other regional mediators to try to overcome these differences between the United States and Iran. And, Netanyahu was very skeptical about the negotiation. We have to remember that, neither Netanyahu nor Israel Katz nor anyone else in the Israeli government misses an opportunity to say that they are ready to step back in, right? Step in. They want to go back to war to further degrade Iran's military capabilities, which, yes, if they reach an agreement right now, Iran, at the first chance it gets, is going to strike back at Israel. I mean, it's the closest one they have, and they're going to strike back at any moment. And what Israel wants is to finish the job, at least to weaken them much more, because it seems like it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Trump still thinks an agreement can be reached. Every day we see him making this comment, but he's willing to resume the war if it's not achieved. I mean, he would like to stop it, to fix it, to settle things on paper, but if not, he's going to have to get back in the ring. In the end, he can't leave the situation worse than it was.
No, you can't. I mean, yeah. Or you shouldn't, right? I mean, to the point that if it gets out of hand, right? If the conflict gets worse, things would be, it would be a total loss. And with oil prices going way up, right? Extremely high.
Exactly. The issue in this call, according to these sources, is that Trump told Netanyahu that the mediators were drafting a letter of intent that both the United States and Iran would sign to formally end the war and to begin a 30-day period of negotiations on issues related to the nuclear program and the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. According to these two Israeli sources, they say that the two presidents, or the prime minister and the president, could not agree on the way forward. Source reported about the call that Bibi was furious after the call. The little hair he has left. According to the source, the Israeli ambassador in Washington informed U.S. lawmakers that Netanyahu is worried, and a spokesperson for the embassy denied this version, obviously, and stated that the ambassador should not comment on private conversations. Oh, yes, I do see it. I do see him angry, of course. How could I not?
Of course. I mean, it's like, let's move on to another topic.
For us to realize Trump never fulfills his promise.
Take it like that if that's his style. Well, the United States is activating alert level number 4. This is because of the Ebola outbreak, and migration controls are also being tightened. That's an important topic regarding the updates, although I also say this to reassure everyone. The WHO said today that the risk of Ebola has already decreased, meaning that based on what they're seeing, it's being brought under control and the risk has gone down. Even so, some countries are still taking measures. The temporary restrictions applied by the State Department and also the CDC, which has been trying to limit the international spread of the virus at least as much as possible. The US government issued this travel level 4 specifically for Uganda, South Sudan, and obviously for the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which are the 3 countries that have reported cases. Back in May 2026, it was well known that there was even an international alert of concern, right? From the WHO, although today that alert has already been lowered. Today, it caught my attention that major national media outlets were only just reporting the WHO alert that was issued last week. And today, they said the alert had been lowered. And they're just now publishing last week's alert. When it comes to international topics, they're just not interested. I think that's also true for local media. I mean, there might be some that are more up to date, but it caught my attention that several media outlets are putting it on the front page. Like, look, here it is. At least they're discussing the topic now, since the topic hadn't even been discussed before. But anyway, according to information published, since May 17th, yes, May 17th, the State Department had already warned US citizens to be careful with these trips to those areas. the Ministry of Health of the Democratic Republic of the Congo has been making these announcements about how the cases are progressing. That's what they've been talking about. Well, I thought it was about 500 cases.
Let's go with the latest update. So for now, the number of deaths stands at 139. It's starting to slow down a bit. Do you notice? And the suspected cases are quite a lot. 600 suspected cases in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and in Uganda, which correspond to this specific strain. And well, regarding the fatality rate, which is what's important, it's between 30 and 50%, which is quite high. And well, they report that the health centers in Turin province are where the major outbreak occurred in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, that they are full of suspected cases, according to what doctors report without informants. These doctors who always travel to complicated parts of the world to provide support. And if we are full of suspected cases, we don't have space. That's the message they share. And according to the New York Sport, last weekend there were suspected cases that arrived at a clinic in Salamana, Banyan, and Turi, which has a surgical center that doesn't have an isolation area. It's just that, besides, they have infrastructure problems. They don't have what they need, unfortunately.
Greetings to Francisco Arce, who says they should open the Strait already. And did you see the explosion? With a double meaning, you know? It gets me. But this one, yes.
Yes, we'll share it.
Yes, we share it. Francisco, just today, who knows what happened there. Sorry about that. But I ask you to keep following us. Share, give us a like, because there really has been, sometimes there are issues on the platform. Videos suddenly aren't being shared, don't reach people, or arrive late, for example. To give you an extreme example, one of the videos had like 80, 90 people in the live stream. And I was getting comments asking what time the live stream was. And I was like, well, we're already live. We were already in the live stream, but they didn't find out until almost an hour later. That's when we saw it. That's why I have the phone. People came, but they don't use it. They have it, but don't. Sometimes there are issues, but if they go to the streaming area, the video should be there. Hey, that was a pretty big explosion in New York.
Yeah, right where the bull is.
Right by the bull, right in the heart of Wall Street. Well, that's it.
That said, it's not that strange, because a car that explodes, well, you know it's a car, but did it explode on its own, or did someone make it explode? Because what if it's there?
Yeah, it's strange. It's strange. He says, hopefully they'll be very careful now that the Soccer World Cup is about to start. That would be really good. That's a good point there, Hugo. Yes, they really have to be careful. The whole issue is that there are two things that need to be watched very carefully, right? One is the issue of public health, obviously possible problems with those outbreaks and all that, and also the issue of cyber attacks. I mean, it's going to be very easy for digital fraud to happen, so we have to be very careful with that. No, in fact, they're already warning a lot here in Mexico to be careful with the issue of cyber fraud and that kind of thing. Yes, that's important. And I mean, I would also think about possible advancements. Sabotage, right? Seems like that's how things are these days.
Well, that's it. For example, the Olympics in Italy, day one, cleaning at the Winter Olympics that took place last year in Italy. And on day one, there was already a blockade on the trains. I mean, literally, it was ridiculous.
Very fast, very fast. Let's move on to something else about the topic of Ebola. No, not the Ebola lab topic. No, let's move on to another matter. Hey, are the fires still going on in California? Are the fires still going on in California? We talked a few days ago about Sandy, which is a fire that's been hitting over there. I don't know if it's the same one or what's happening, but tell us what's going on there.
Well, there's a wildfire that has burned a third of an island in California called Santa Rosa. This is in the Channel Islands National Park in California, an area that, by the way, has a lot of rare animals and plants. Obviously, since it's an island, it's very common for this to happen, and including some that can't be found anywhere else in the world, just like the Galapagos Islands. This fire also started on Friday and has grown to 6,900 hectares as of last night. That's what makes it concerning. The biggest fire in the state this año, the biggest fire in this year, has fortunately been fairly calm compared to other years. This is according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. So unfortunately, it puts the unique animals and plants on this island in danger. In addition, 2 historic structures have been destroyed and 11 national park employees had to be evacuated on Sunday, according to the department, from Santa Barbara County Fire Department.
Well, yes,
No, well, that's really crazy. He says the Olympics were in Italy this year. That's right.
Was it this year?
Sorry, sir. I was already thinking it was next year.
Yeah, I know. He says, okay. He says, on a day like today, look, this is 1990. The Hubble Space Telescope sent its first photograph today. Since 1990, right? It's been a while already, Dad. How have you been? He says it wasn't an electric car because when those have a bad battery, they explode like really badly. Ada says, how have you been, Ada? Hello, good evening. And, well, we have a poll, by the way, so you can go ahead and participate. Thank you very much to those who have already done so. How far is the war with Iran going to go? That's the poll we have today, while we're looking at the map of the area most at risk for fires. Between Mexico and California. Well, between Mexico and the United States, there's California, but also Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada. The three states most likely to have fires, Sonora and Sinaloa. Also, some regions in the south and Sinaloa. Right now, there's a lot of heat and little rain in some places. So, likewise for these southern areas, we're even talking about Yucatan itself, right? Campeche also catches my attention. Well, let's stay alert about that. But in general, across the Americas, the area with the highest probability of fires right now is this one in the whole continent. Although there are also areas in Brazil, even in Chile, right? Between Chile, Bolivia, and Peru, which also have high probabilities of fires, but they're much smaller in terms of territory, right? In terms of size. Let's address other key matters. According to reports, Raul Castro, the former president of Cuba, to call him that, could face the death penalty over there in the United States. That's how serious the accusations against him are, and this could mean either that option or life imprisonment. Well, for someone who is 94 years old, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it means that much, especially considering that he's someone I imagine. At some point, he must have considered that there was a possibility that this might be how his life would end. And, well, it's something that could happen, right? The Attorney General, right? From the United States, Todd Blanche has already stated today that they expect this person to appear before the United States justice system. It would be wild to see him in the United States.
So today as well, Trump obviously also reacted to this and said that he described the accusation as a very important moment, although he downplayed the possibility of any military action against Cuba. He said there won't be an escalation. I don't think it's necessary. The place is falling apart. It's a disaster, and they've lost control somehow. He said this today at a press conference. In fact, I feel like that's what they want. They're kind of trying to provoke a reaction from the people. I mean, with Marco Rubio's message where he says, well, they're being misled. All the money collected goes to this company, which keeps it for themselves instead of using it for the government or the benefit of the island. I think it's a way they're kind of trying to manage the situation there in Havana. What is true is that even though Donald Trump says this, today the aircraft carrier Nimitz from the United States was deployed in the Caribbean very close to Cuba.
Well, there it is. It's not like they don't want to, but they're already deploying there. Besides, I think by now Trump has already understood that he can't be declaring what the next step is going to be, right? Well, possibly he's not going to tell us. He's not going to tell us if he's actually going to operate inside Cuba. I think it's definitely a possibility that it could happen, but they're not going to say it, especially not with Cuba, which has been more cunning in that sense. That's why it's lasted so many decades. The regime, because in the end, yes, there were many attempts to undermine the regime when Castro was in power. Well, Fidel Castro, and it never worked. Well, that's also important to mention. Now check this out.
An interdiction based on some intelligence that we were able to provide where the Spanish intercepted a shipment of cocaine that was 35 tons. We believe that's about $1 billion in street value. We believe that's the largest interdiction in history.
Mexicano say General David Dagwin Anderson reportedly revealed that in Africa they have found or dismantled about 12 laboratories, and in 11 of those there were members of the Mexican. Just imagine, according to reports from Africa, this group of U.S. military personnel stationed there confirmed that in the dismantling of 12 laboratories, 11 had members of Mexican cartels. He added that the cartels are linked to the largest cocaine seizure in history, valued at approximately $1 billion. He added that these drugs were destined for the Middle East, Europe, and also the United States. Well, that's part of the statements made during the hearing by General Davidson Anderson, commander of the United States Africa Command, the famous AFRIFRICOM. Incredible. That's not the point.
Very serious. We have to remember that, well, here and in the United States, they have already issued several warnings to Mexican politicians that this is not going to stop, right? Any connection they have with the cartels is going to have consequences.
Well, that's how things are on this issue. And here, well, we'll keep paying attention because even within Morena, there are now critical voices coming out saying, why was this problem allowed to grow? Why, if suspicions about politicians were known, are there now doubts even among themselves? I mean, saying, how do you let this grow? Because now, obviously, everything good or bad gets tainted by this issue. Hey, what other parties have also had this problem? It's true, right? And it's a problem. This has been going on for a while, Fizz. Now, and many journalists have even risked their lives or even died for exposing these kinds of things. So it's a situation that needs to be analyzed and investigated. And I understand that there's some pressure from the United States, but this should also be an opportunity for a thorough investigation, regardless of any pressure or anything else, so that it can be resolved right here, and action should be taken against all these people. Today, there were arrests of mayors, right? I think it was in Morelos. The same security secretariat published it. I mean, there have been some moves, but the big ones like Arrocha and other governors who haven't even been touched, they're still there, right? Acting like nothing's happening, right? Yes, exactly. That's true. I mean, you just have to check whose visas have been canceled, right? To begin with, right? At the start. I mean, that doesn't mean they're criminals or anything like that. But at least you say there's a very negative sign. And if you go and look at all the journalistic investigations that exist in many of these cases where they're accused of using illicit money for campaigns, which I insist, this is very common. I insist across all parties, unfortunately, and they always say they're going to do something. Absolutely nothing is ever done about it. It's an issue that keeps going on. And as someone mentioned here yesterday, I think it was Nova's dad, if I'm not mistaken, he said, it's known that any politician who comes in is a politician who already brings it with them. Well, there's an organized crime group, which is, let's say, the one approved by that politician, right? If one comes in or another, then one group comes in or another. And they're the ones who are going to be operating and the others have to leave. And if they don't leave, well, these wars break out between them. I mean, it's a topic that's been well known for many years. And unfortunately, it keeps being used. It keeps working in a large part of the country. Let's move on to other important matters.
Well, in Mexico, we have a nuclear plant. A nuclear plant that, well, we all know is not in the best condition. I mean, it doesn't get maintenance very regularly. But today, something happened that I think we've never seen before, which is that the workers at Laguna Verde sent a message to the IAEA warning about the danger that Laguna Verde poses. And this is because an article has come into effect called Article 127, which is causing a crisis. They call it a labor crisis in their letter to the IAEA, as well as an operational crisis at Mexico's only nuclear power plant. It says, directly endangering nuclear safety and the principle of defense in depth. According to their report, this article has caused extreme fatigue and the loss of senior specialists, meaning personnel who are knowledgeable and specialized in the subject. It says, high-risk maintenance sites, brain drain of licensed reactor operators. RO and senior reactor operators projected increase in unexpected reactor shutdowns due to inexperience, meaning errors inside the nuclear plant, breakdowns in mentoring programs for the next generation. And this violates, well, here they list which programs it violates. Those are international issues that all nuclear plants have. It says, and the global standards of safety culture. And well, it says international experience is clear. France, special retirement schemes to retain experience to prevent blackouts. I mean, France has a program so that retirees can continue contributing their knowledge to the new generations. The same in Japan. Yes, in Japan, they also have a group of retirees who regularly come in for drills or emergencies to lend their experience. But here in Mexico, that's not being done. The United States also has a plan called the Knowledge Retention Plan for similar crises, and in Mexico, it's the opposite. People are being replaced based on meritocracy. Sorry, meritocracy is being replaced by experience with precarious conditions. I mean, just like we're also seeing with the judges where they put people in because they like them, because they're part of a certain group, whatever, and they remove the people who really know what they're doing.
The people who do.
Here, though, we're discussing an issue at a nuclear plant.
It's really serious. Not interesting. The report is concerning, obviously, and good for the workers at that plant for exposing a situation like this, right? Because if it's not them, then who, right? I mean, well, let's move on to something else.
Yes. Well, what they're urgently asking for is that both the Mexican government and CFE restore competitive compensation for qualified nuclear personnel because, well, they need to be well paid. No, it's not just anyone. Not many people in Mexico, I think, know about this subject, and they say it's important to protect operational excellence and nuclear safety standards. This is according to the statement they shared with the OAS, which was sent directly to the OAS, so that they can put pressure on the government here. Now, whether they'll listen to them, we'll see. Well,
that's the document, right? Well, I mean, just to be clear, that's the document that has been published. It's already been sent to many media outlets so that, well, no, they sent it to the president. They didn't steal it. Claudia Sheinbaum to the same Secretariat of Foreign Affairs, to the New York Times, to El País, to local media, etc. They are tagged so that they have the information and the complaint, and it's signed by the workers at the plant nuclear over there in Veracruz, right? Well, that's also an important part of what's happening. Now,
and that's part of the change the judges made a few days ago, where they were going to limit what are called golden pensions. And this is what's apparently affecting other changes they made to the Laguna Verde nuclear plant.
So let's keep an eye on the OAS. Let's see if there's a reaction from Rafael Grossi, but let's hope there is, right? That it comes to the attention of this UN nuclear agency, right? They're the ones in charge of global security for this, what's it called, of this agency, right? That will also be super, super important to follow up on. And well, let's move on to other matters, right? To other important topics as well. If you're here in the live stream, participate in the poll. The question we want to ask today is, how far will the war with Iran go? Will it remain limited? Will they attack United States bases? Will it go beyond the Middle East? Will this conflict spread globally to other places? Or is there another option? And obviously leave it in the comments so we know what other option you see, because that would also be super important. It's good to clarify, right? Panderita says they've already participated. Good for Panderita. Thank you so much, Panderita. Thank you, Panderita, for participating in MT as well. Big greetings to the whole community. Francisco is just arriving. How are you? Did you see the Pumba from Monterrey? Wow, we didn't see it.
Pumba is a wild boar.
I imagine so.
But it could be a peccary, though.
A peccary, right? Yes, exactly. But I mean, they look alike. They look alike. They're not going to be cousins or anything. Well, let's move on to other important matters as well. Well, we're looking at some images now. This is in Bolivia.
It's in Bolivia, exactly where, well, the citizens of La Paz, Cochabamba, Tarija, and Chuquisaca marched in defense of Rodrigo Paz's government. We have to remember that in recent days, there have been some pretty violent demonstrations, but from Evo Morales' camp.
Evo Morales is against the government, and well, People went out to defend, well, democracy too, because things are getting very intense. There's even talk about the possibility of a coup d'etat, right? And that's obviously been a cause for concern as well. Well, Bolivia is a country that has changed. It has shifted, let's say, from the left more towards the center right. And with that shift, Evo Morales is shut out of being able to continue influencing or trying to influence the governments there, or the mayors, you know, since they do have power in the end. And besides, since he already has several very serious accusations against him, obviously he knows that without that power, he could easily end up in jail. I imagine that's what this person is afraid of. And, well, anything else about the Bolivia issue? About the Bolivia issue?
No. Well,
Let's move on to other important matters. Look at what's being reported right now. Here now, almost every day, there's something. I'm going to put the now something.
hello.
Hello. The funny robotic moment. Well, Robotico, this robot falls down and then just stays there. Maybe it's overacting a bit, or is it just, I think so, right?
It just fainted.
It already fainted. No, it ran out of power.
It's really cheap. I think that's going to happen.
Its battery ran out.
Started for me.
He was kind of drunk. Look, he's with her. You can tell he lost his dignity. I mean, he's just going. Now it's like,
It's over.
He wasn't left embarrassed. It was his moment to shine. Everything was going well.
everything was going well. I mean, he had some great moves. Who told them to put these stairs here?
I mean, but he still almost fell. Of course.
Of course he didn't fall. Look there. Oh,
He has part of the dance.
the world. Maybe it's a performance, right?
Where he danced.
I do his performance. Maybe it was part of the show, right? Well, no. The robots are going to come pull your feet if you don't organize them from there. Now this, well then,
The robots weren't coming to pull your feet.
no. All our respect to the robots.
But if it were a human, we couldn't show it, right?
No, we could. Good point.
There it is there. So, well, if tomorrow they come down on us, the robot, and we know why.
Well, let's hope it's okay. Let's move on to other important matters. What else do we have over there?
Well, today, a high-risk interception was carried out by a British military
I mean, let's see. Where or how?
EVA. The government of the United Kingdom reported that there was a high-risk interception against Russian aircraft that came within meters of a British military aircraft. This happened in the Black Sea with a plane, probably a spy plane, but we're now discussing 2 fighter jets. See, the Russian fighter jets dangerously intercepted a British surveillance aircraft. This, as I mentioned earlier about the Black Sea, the planes were Su-35 and Su-27 fighters that got as close as 6 meters. Look at that. From the nose of a plane that was a rivet joint from the Royal Air Force, and they forced the crew to turn off the autopilot to take emergency measures. The emergency system was activated.
Okay.
Obviously, the interception happened while the rivet joint plane from the Royal Air Force was patrolling international airspace on a routine mission on surveillance, along with other allies who are protecting NATO's eastern border. Well, these planes, these Russian jets, approached and put this river joint in a pretty dangerous situation. And, well, this river joint, by the way, has been doing these patrols since 2022. I mean, they already know they're there. And, well, it's a topic that draws attention. They're becoming more and more aggressive. There's already a history. Back in 2022, a Russian fighter fired a missile near another British plane in this same area. So yes, there have been incidents. The Russians have had aggressive encounters.
Well, there you have it. It's just that they feel the Black Sea belongs to them. I mean,
Yeah, they feel the world is theirs, and that's another topic if we go there.
let's say that. But this area is like, you know, they've always been very protective. And they've tried several times already. Remember? Shooting down US drones, the MQ-9 drones, when they get close. Remember? And they do this, right? All these kinds of things. It's a constant in that area. Both the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea, right? They're like 2 areas that also. Let's go here to the Baltic Sea. There are 2 areas. You can understand it a bit better here because it's near St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad is right there. And there are tensions, right? There are constant tensions. The estimate they made a few years ago before the war with Ukraine started was that the tensions happened about 1 to 5 times per month, approximately. Now we're talking about 5 to 10 per week. I mean, tensions. And yes, obviously adding those that happen with Europe, those that happen with the United States, and every now and then. Do you know where else? In Asia, towards Japan, towards that area, where, by the way, sometimes there are planes that cross, that get close, either in the Sea of Japan area, towards regions that are international waters, but are already, let's say, the Japanese exclusive economic zone, which in theory is the point, like the limit that they shouldn't cross. And that's when the warnings and the Japanese jets also come into action to let them know, hey, move a little further away, right? That's the classic one too. Well, let's move on to other important matters. Yes. Hey, well, on other things we also can't just skip over. Well, let's say this. Yes, we shouldn't skip over the news because I don't think we'll have time to comment on all of them. But Donald Trump is tightening banking controls against operations linked to immigrants. This is mainly about undocumented immigrants, right? So certain platforms, certain ways of transferring money will no longer be possible, according to what he says. The executive order instructed the Treasury Department to issue a warning with red flags within 60 days and to push for changes based on the Bank Secrecy Act. This operation aims to put pressure on migration, basically by sending money to other countries. The well-known remittances could be at risk for families, for countries that also rely on the arrival of that extra money as part of their economy. Well, that's a huge problem, isn't it?
Exactly. This measure is called Restore the Integrity of the U.S. Financial System. It was dated or signed on May 19th, that is yesterday, and it comes with central instructions for the Treasury Department to act together with federal banking regulators. And well, there will be transactions that will raise red flags when they detect suspicious activities related to the population or with employers who hire them. So if they see that there is a connection with citizens, with people who are not citizens, then they will be able to freeze the transfer of money or the accounts. So be very careful with that issue. Sending money to family members is going to get complicated if you if you don't have citizenship.
Well, so be careful with that issue because it can obviously cause a problem for a lot of people. And well, just stay very alert. I imagine there will also be other legal options, right? For all these people, since the system always finds ways, right? But we have to stay alert, right? In the meantime,
The bugs. Yes.
Maybe yes.
Then how do you buy them if they pay you in cash? How?
if not, who knows, right? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I imagine they'll meet. Anyway, we'll be keeping an eye on that. In the meantime, if anyone is close to the topic and wants to give us their opinion, please get in touch so we can know, right? How they're going to do it. Now, also a big shout out to Linda.
It's
I'm living in Canada and I always record videos of objects flying in the sky that appear as lights. And when I zoom in on the video, they look like stars. I mean, greetings from Canada. Up until now, it's been a real hassle with cell phones, even on phones like the Samsung 25 or 26, all those with super zoom. Even so, it's still the same. I mean, you need a super mega lens and a big sensor to really capture it well, which is complicated. That's why people say it's that they always show up on camera and it's always on these tiny low quality cameras. No, no, no. Look, it's not that easy. Try taking a picture of a bird, a hummingbird. I mean, it's not that easy to take the picture, right? You're going to struggle a lot. You might figure it out eventually, but you'll struggle, especially with hummingbirds. There are only a few such objects, and they're always far away, making them very hard to photograph. It's difficult, but you have to keep trying. And, well, if you ever manage to get a good picture out there, we've been receiving some images. Thank you very much to those who send us things they've taken, photos they've taken. We analyze all of them. Just give me a chance. I usually do this on the weekend, and I sit down to check the emails and the videos. I read news quickly, but wait until the weekend for content that needs analysis. Greetings to the whole community. Leonardo says, look, he's already here. He came back, and he's already watching videos. That's great, Leonardo. Cheers. You're all caught up now. Big greetings to you. Maybe someday you'll share some of that experience with us. He says also a lot of regulation is at the state level. So for sure many states will follow these directives and others will oppose them so as not to affect businesses. Good point. Ada and Susan. There will be. I mean, you see, right? Trump does something, but then suddenly everything rearranges itself to get around what Trump is doing. So, well, there will surely be something like that. Greetings to Adaiso, to Ephraim, and legally, right? I'm not saying it'll be under the table. There are always legal options. Game says, hi Pepe. He says, I think Putin doesn't dare to attack Europe. He's afraid because of the United States. Fran says, good point. Fran says, reading comments. Today, I have two stories for you. Today, officially, Cloud Air has cost 3,000 people their jobs. They'll give me a good severance package, but I'm too lazy to look for a new job.
It was because of Cloud.
How tough, how tough. Well,
They're not here. Is it crowded?
too many people. I mean, and she just said it like that. I mean, did they tell you it was because of that, or did you guys figure it out, or did you understand it was for that reason? This is intense, really. It's tough, right, Christy?
Aurelio says there will be a lot of lawsuits against the banking system because the economy is going to get worse, says Aurelio. Regards.
Aurelio, greetings. Hello there.
We're missing the second story. Let's see what it tells.
Let's see what it tells us. Greetings to everyone. Or maybe those are the two stories. Nope.
No, they're two stories. It's one story.
Okay, greetings to Leonardo. He says, what do you think about those who miss each other a lot these days? I went through the videos. That's right. Yes, yes, greetings to, well.
Let's head to the comments now.
All right, let's continue then.
From the story of two, to keep up with all the gossip about Christy, seeing the story of two is karma. My boss's boss is a rude guy, really rude. Well, he gave us the news individually, and he said it was for the improvement of the company, etc. It's not over yet. Yes. I'm saying goodbye.
Let's wait.
Let's wait. Yes, yes. Greetings to Linda May. How are you? She asked how to send you the photos and videos. Greetings from Canada.
It's happening here, down here, on this line. It's happening. We reactivated my email again. Sorry. Oh, sorry. We reactivated the email because, well, sometimes it's needed. So there it is. I mean, well, the email has always been active. I mean, but I'm referring to the one that goes through here. What's up, my life? Oh, Passe is active. So, well, please check it there.
Well, the boss of your boss, the rude one, well, he got fired too. I mean, they made him do the dirty work and that's it. And that's something companies do very often. They always tell the person they're going to fire someone else too. And then, well, they fire
him.
Well, at least they told him face to face, because we've already read about cases where they just send an email or simply take away their access pass. Just like that. I mean, they don't even find out.
Yeah, right. I mean, the good thing is that they gave him a good severance package. That's good. But, I mean, I don't doubt that in other places they don't even give that, right?
But yeah, the dad says, phrases for hysteria. The woman who snores is the one who found a way to keep bothering even while sleeping. See, I'm really nice.
You're really nice. You say you don't snore? No, I don't. That's because you're asleep and don't notice.
No, I don't snore. I fell asleep on the couch recently and asked my youngest son, who woke up early. That day I told him, I didn't fall asleep because I was punished. I fell asleep because after exercising, I always get sleepy and I fall asleep on the couch. Why does that happen? And my youngest son got up really early that day and I asked him, I slept for like 2 hours and I said, do I snore? He said, no, you don't snore. But you do this thing. Like you adjust yourself, you complain. He said, you complain. Yes. You hardly snore. Panterita says to his company, but he fights in the lawsuit. Panterita says greetings. You don't snore.
But the music would hit you, like, yes. He says, how, what?
Some people, of course, they're seen in God's justice, says Pantaleon. So I'm going to, in many places, Panterita, in many places, when they hire you, they make you sign a blank resignation. Oh,
What a blessing.
who sent it to me like this. Greetings to Leonardo. He always says, I don't just like the news. It's also nice to have different perspectives. Everyone has an interesting comment.
Greetings, Leonardo. Yes, you're right. I mean, that's cool because here a lot of different opinions are shared, right? And comments that will make us think and reflect in a different way. It says Christina. Yes, they literally sent them an email. Dice, they won't send out a message saying that part of her financial strategy is to lay people off and invest that in AI. Right along with that email, there was a 5-minute meeting.
I mean,
That's how they were notified by email.
And then the meeting.
and the meeting had the following title: Steps for your upcoming departure from the company. And on Friday, they cut off my access. But honestly, I already stopped doing anything as of today. Well, yeah, what's the point of going?
Yeah, not anymore.
Damn. But the thing is, we talked about it recently, right? We already talked about that. Yes, they do lay people off. But then when it comes down to it, they realize that AI ends up being more expensive because you have to keep buying all the tokens and all that. And it turns out to be really expensive.
Well, let's see what these people calculated. But anyway, Christy, do you have any plans? Do you, are you going to start a company to compete with them or something? Says Luis.
I'm sending greetings from Costa Rica. Good afternoon to you all. Greetings from Luis. Poof gives them to you. Costa Rica, the light for you all advances now. We need a high universal basic income for everyone. Come. He says, what I don't understand is that then this hero comes out and what he says doesn't make sense sometimes. No, with that, they won't work anymore. Just stay home. So who will support them or pay? What's the plan? Because he doesn't pay well either as a person or as an employer.
No.
Yes, I work as a financial risk analyst in credit cards. Okay,
Okay, and that's supposed to be replaced by one.
we'll see what artificial intelligence can do to figure out the tricks, the human tricks. Greetings to Ofe Mendez, how are you? And to Martin Gutierrez, and greetings to Fidel Botello as well.
How have you been? Very good, says Christy. Comment, well, right now I still don't know what I want to. I would like to dedicate myself to something of my own, so I don't have to go through this again. But still, I'll look. And if something good comes up, that's great, says Christy. What is it that you want? What's your thing, Christy? What would you like to do? I mean, are you referring to something from your career or something you like a business? Uh-huh. Like a business, a venture, like you said, right?
Yes.
Well, best of luck to you, Christy, and you'll see that things will go really well for you as always, right? So you'll see what happens, but you have a great spirit. And
She says, Emma says, yes, it's true. Because here in Monterrey, there are places where when you sign your contract, they give you your voluntary resignation without a date. It already happened to me.
either things are really tough out there. I mean, that's pretty serious. And obviously it's not legal.
And besides, I mean,
That's supposedly illegal. No, not anymore, Jerez will say. We'll need to ask some questions. Here, Jerez.
says Leonardo Pepe, I wonder if there will be jobs to clean data centers like Empleado Mexico, but cleaning the consoles. Probably yes. Yes, of course, because they need to be dusted. But dusting the...
They are systems that don't get any dust at all, and they're all turned off and like that.
You have to do maintenance and similar tasks. I don't think they can just be left alone.
There must be someone there. Chile, etc. This.
No, well, Adiso, sorry.
Adiso.
Yes, sorry, haha. When AI creates a financial crisis by giving credit to people, it shouldn't. That'll be something really fun. Exactly. Hi, Veronica, how are you? And Jara says it depends a lot on the job, but in many areas, AI already
Between 10 and
100 times more.
faster than average humans. That's the thing, right? There are jobs where the work has to be done right away. That's why I've been talking lately about these so-called juniors. These are lawyers who just got out of school, who just graduated. And so they're told, look, choose or look for. Well, these laws, if there are legal precedents for this problem, for this case, so to speak, I don't know, things like that. And they start investigating and all that. Well, yes, but now AIs can do that for you and hand it to you. They've really specialized a lot in that subject. And well, let's say they're giving very little work to the juniors, let's put it that way. So yeah, that's kind of rough.
I don't know. Chris, and as a comment, something I'd like to teach sewing classes. Is that well paid here? Or dedicate myself to YouTube with sewing patterns and sell them as tutorials, something like that. Honestly, I still don't know. I'm still in shock.
That's great. Hey, well, I mean, yes, there's going to be a boom. There will be one. Do you want any tips about that for YouTube? I mean, with pleasure. You can count on that, Chris. That's it. Same goes for the community. If anyone wants to start a business, a channel, whatever, and I can help with anything. In fact, I've actually thought about having an option like a course. You know how there are memberships, right? And with memberships, you can offer courses, and obviously, well, you charge for them, right? But these are courses that are based on your own experience, right? I mean, in my case, I focus more on Facebook and Twitter aren't really my strong suit, you know? My focus has been on YouTube. And you can even upload the materials, right? And then they can shut down or tear apart
Things. And yes, you should give courses, man. And then Isa, and here comes Isa Ibarra. She says governments have to regulate it. They're not going to deal with AI with unemployment rates if it keeps going like this. Well, actually, for example, in China, they're already regulating that.
Be alert and see what China is doing.
Already has an employment problem.
They went from being super pro AI and having the whole narrative internally about AI, and people were really excited about AI. And now they said, no, it's forbidden. I mean, in the end, it's a dictatorship, right? And whatever you want, it's forbidden to fire people because of AIs. You can't do that. I mean, what happened with Chris can't happen. It's forbidden. You see? I mean, it's going to happen. But at least they want to try to limit that. And also, they're starting to regulate and remove autonomous cars too. I mean, as much as possible, they want people to drive, not autonomous cars. I mean, that too, right? There's a pretty interesting shift happening there. He says, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Isa.
Thank you, Isa, for the super chat. We appreciate it. And thank you to everyone in the community who supports us. He says, Master Shifu, what is there? Master Shifu, always ahead, always innovating. He says, I wish a rich lady would adopt me so I could be a house husband. I'll clean for her, iron, wash her clothes. And look,
Yes, that's how I like it.
that's what I want too. What's her name? What's her name? Do you want a sushi from your home? Me? I want
Do you want to be, how do you say it, a trophy wife?
Do you want to be a trophy wife? That's another firmware
Wife.
that you're not going to work. Today is your last day here. I just told you, I had you sign that you were quitting.
Remember this Ali Wong, the comedian? Do you remember? Her goal in life was also to be a trophy wife. And she says, isn't that great? She says, they tricked us, telling us we had to work. We were fine, right? And she ended up supporting her wife.
That's right, because she's doing really well.
Yes, because also, I mean, when he married her, he didn't tell her. But he has a huge student debt. He studied medicine. He has a massive debt, and she paid it off. And in the end, they ended up getting divorced. They ended up, I mean, honestly, that guy really took a risk. Shout out to Christy. He says, comment, I think in a few months it's going to fail. She's going to fail because she's really good, but only with human guidance and supervision. We were forced to use it, to train it, but it's not ready at all. Of course, I mean, did they use you guys for the album? Wow, that's something, man. No, my friend, it's crazy. It's really crazy, he says.
Z, what do you think, Master Shifu? Is the collapse of the chairs coming or not? He says the real difference won't be human versus AI anymore, but human with AI. Sino será humano con IA versus human without AI. I totally agree. I think the focus went over there without humans, right? And that's where we still are right now. I mean, a lot of people want to automate, for example, here on YouTube, and they sell you courses like how to automate a YouTube channel. And people go and pay for those courses. I mean, obviously, that's not the right approach. It's not about automating. It's about you creating your own content. Yes, you can definitely use AI to help you. Hey, help me make the summaries. Help me make a program. Help me, I don't know, like help me write a script with all this information, and it can give you really good ideas. I mean, come on, it can be useful in that sense. Like Jarala says, a human AI combination. But in the end, you're the one supervising. You're the one in charge. Go. Create is simply a tool, much like a search engine or many other tools. But this idea of automating everything and all that, it's just not sustainable. It's not cool. Man, I think it's happened to a lot of people. It keeps happening. You're watching a video and you think, hey, this video is good, and you don't realize it's all automated. Maybe, right? This is 100% AI. And you start to notice the content has no soul, right? So you say, no, thanks. Goodbye. No, that's not what we want. I think what we want is something good, right? Like something genuine, right? At least for me, that little human error gives it. I mean, it gives it flavor, right? I think so. But MTPP says any news about the 7 Mexicans detained Israel in international waters. They were going to church. Hey, that's a topic. But what's really important is the Ben Gvir thing.
He released the video. The video is out there. I think I sent it to. Well, anyway, there was a big topic. What's really important is the Ben Gvir thing. He released the video. The video is out there. I don't know how much of it can be shown. That guy, it's like, wow, he's like the Norwegian guy, but 3 times worse.
Israel's version.
Not the left-wing version, but the right-wing version.
All right. I mean, they treated the people, they took off the boats really badly, those who were coming. I mean, no, that's not the way to do it.
No.
Give humanitarian aid. I sent that to you so you could check it to see if there was anything. He made fun of it. Well, and now Netanyahu already scolded him. I mean,
When even Netanyahu is the moderate one.
yes, Netanyahu scolded him.
Is the situation really that bad?
Yes, because he's a very extreme character who damages Israel's image. Honestly, they shouldn't let him do those things in the world.
Yes.
No, and not surprising because right now it already has a very bad image. Israel in the world. I mean, it's a topic that even the international Jewish community itself criticizes the Israeli government a lot. But Ben Gvir is the extreme already. It's just too much.
The grandson or son of the one who built the airport says that you can't live war on the aircraft. He goes to Ben Gvir.
What Ben Gvir?
He's another historical figure there in Israel, says Jala. Artificial intelligence. Well, that's what it says too. She sends greetings and admits she often makes mistakes, says Panterita, and frequently agrees with you. Greetings to Gabriel Duran. She makes many mistakes and Castro tends to get carried away. Cinema says, hi guys, sorry, but today I indulged with French fries and scrambled eggs, says F baby. And how delicious, what? Yes, the potato. But as French fries, it's hot. When boiled, it's cold.
French fries absolutely fried, then it's really, intense, but it's not bad at all. I mean, it's just very frowned upon bad, especially if we're talking about fries like McDonald's, then yes, but this,
And
yes, well, yes.
it has quite a lot of nutrients.
Let's say it's not either.
It says, Verderi. The autonomous taxi we ordered in Los Angeles took 5 or 10 minutes trying to get out of the parking lot. No one would let the robo-taxi pass. People looked at us and laughed. How embarrassing with those Verderi taxis. You said, I'm going to be innovative.
Hey, but that's cool. Did you see the robot taxi experience? Robot taxi. Okay, now I know. Well, they really are really crazy.
It says, leave the truth about the difference. I don't know. We already read it. It says here, the new technological revolution that has already begun. Today, IaaS, GPUs, RUAS, and tokenization could change the whole world. XRP projects like Link and Ondolink, Itao Chip, Render, and NVIDIA are connected to the infrastructure of the digital and financial future.
Totally. They absolutely are. We need to update ourselves. In that sense, we need to get moving. Because, yes, the truth is that it's a world that, if used well and researched properly by really formalizing things, really study, buy books, take courses, I mean, yes, it helps a lot, I feel. In fact, I think it's going to bring a lot of prosperity to many countries. Because I feel that, well, the newer generations already have it, right? And if they start integrating it, that's great. But also the older generations, with the experience they have, I think they can also find interesting things there. So it's not just trading. I mean, like this. For example, this topic of, what do they call it? Managing or creating applications and that kind of thing. Right now, well, I can't get too far ahead, but I have several friends, even a relative who's making applications right now. Applications from scratch. Even though he's not a programmer, because he's not a programmer, now he's making applications from scratch. Not just using software that makes the application for you. No, he made the application from scratch. Of course, with help. Not just from one, but from several AIs at the same time. And he already has the application on Google. I mean, it's already approved by Google. It's already on the market, let's say. His first application is out, and now he's working on the second one. It was a whole process that took months, right? It wasn't quick, but it's not really his thing. I mean, it's not always what he does. I mean, he likes computers and all that, but it's not really his thing. I have friends who are now making and developing things they once hesitated because they lacked to try. Who is that? Someone? Well, it's not a person, it's an AI, right? That gives them confidence to take risks and speak up. I'll go for it because I know that if it struggles with something, it's not going to give me the answer right away, and it's going to be trial and error, and it has a lot of flaws. He tried, I think, 4 or 5 different AIs and saw that one worked for some things, another worked for other things.
And then depending on what you want, that's what you have to use.
It wasn't just about the strategy of making the app, but also how to present it on the platforms and get your app accepted. So you have to look at everything, the whole legal part, everything. It's a lot of things. You also had your assistant there guiding you a bit until you got your first app approved. So just imagine, you're going to start noticing needs. Hey, why isn't there an app for this thing? Right? Well, then make it, right? Make it. Develop it. It's going to take a while. It won't be easy, not even with AI or anything, but it can be done. And that's something. It's a very interesting point. Right now, it says phrases for hysteria. Did you know that most archaeologists are women? This is due to their natural ability to dig up the past.
It says here, Noah's dad, this dad who shouldn't have been. I'll block you. They block you here. Dad shouldn't have. You're getting yourself into trouble here.
I mean, Roblox MX says they're taking it. People are going to be even more amazing. There is a study that says that for people who use it for more than, I don't remember how many minutes, they start losing their ability to analyze things. It's just something that suddenly like, no. If you ask it for the answers, then you're not analyzing anymore, right? You're losing out.
That ability, it depends. I think it depends on how you ask, right? If it's for analysis, it's like a library.
Well, one thing is to ask for data, but it's another thing to ask it to tell you, for example, which is the best option between this one and that one. And you don't do any research yourself.
No. Not in that case, but I see it more as a search engine, like someone who helps you get options to research a topic more deeply. For example, I think it's interesting not to use just one, but to use several and also go beyond the guides. No, not just with the guides. You also have to be looking for other sources to pinpoint specific details. I sometimes use this, especially when it comes to scientific topics. Imagine, you go through the whole scientific document about a biology or math topic. Obviously, it's really complicated. It's not my area, right? But if you have a summary explained in a certain way, at least you start to get an overview. Like, well, this article is interesting, and you start to research in other directions, and then you come up with your own article. They were shot. There are videos, and they weren't even armed or anything. What? Let me check. Let me scroll up. Let's see what happened. What is it about? What are they talking about? I'm talking about the Israelis. About the Israelis, about the activists, right? That's intense. He says, don't make me anonymous. He says he's not a saint compared to, yes,
Well, yeah.
yes, compared to Benji Beer. Totally. I agree there too. And look,
Sometimes it's worse.
he said 3 times worse. Actually, I'd say 5 times worse.
Well, maybe.
Yes. Because, Noroña has been one of those who came out to comment on the security issue. Did you see about security?
About the drug trafficking thing.
Yes. He was saying in a comment he made, which someone sent me, that he was asking why there isn't an investigation and why they don't know where. For example, Roche is. Why? If these documented cases exist, why aren't they being investigated? Regardless of what the United States says. He insists you have to investigate it yourself. Of course. And I said, and it's Noroña. But I thought it was very appropriate for him to say it, right? That's very valid, honestly.
Of course, a little applause for Nora.
Yes, a little applause there in that sense. Yes, well, yes, because there are people who, when the time comes, see these problems that we have right now. That's when you see who the real leaders are and who are just there chasing office, right? Basically. And I'm not saying they're not interested in the perks too, right? Obviously, he's a politician. But you also have to know when to say enough is enough. They say, look, I'm not going to keep following you here. The things you're doing, if you're on the wrong side, then I shouldn't follow you, right? I shouldn't be approving you just because you're from the same party as me, etc. I thought at least that was interesting. He says the video of those kidnapped by Israel shows how they generally behave with any foreigner. Stay sharp, my people. He says, Verderi, how are you, Verderi?
With anyone who disagrees with them. Because surely there are Israelis who are also not in favor of all that.
And he says, likewise, Lerano, thank you very much for being here. Castillo says that I use Gemini for free and it has helped me set up my home lab with Linux. It doesn't tell me everything. It helps me with code blocks, says Castillo. That's very good, Castillo. I've tried Gemini. For example, it has helped me a lot to, I don't know why. I don't know what the point is with that. But for example, when I want to connect, for example, I see a story that I'm making, right? That I'm writing, and I want it to connect or to give me more versions of a concept, of an idea. For example, I want a twist here, right? And it manages to do it by contrast. I feel that ChatGPT is colder, more about information. And this one gives it a more interesting context. It was also pretty good with images. I don't know how you see it.
When it comes to images, it's the best. The banana from Gemini is one of the best. Yes.
Yes, for making thumbnails and similar things.
Not in the photos, but you make them very realistic.
Now, at least for us, we don't like to use only existing images in the thumbnails. We like to combine them, especially, for example, when you don't have a good quality photo of a character. For example, the Iranians who have very few photos, right? So suddenly you say, I have this photo. Make it better for me. And, well, you improve it, right? It's usually quite realistic. It doesn't feel like, come on. For example, Mokhtar Khamenei, there are no photos of him. Basically, there are very few. Yes.
Like 3.
So with that, it helps you a little to have several versions to talk about that character, right? That's like, for example, with Guru. I don't know how true it is, but let's say it's been good for doing real-time video. And I don't know how they train it. Honestly, I do have my doubts about that. But I have seen that it has confirmed things that are real and that I haven't found any information about. So I prefer to wait. I like things to be as confirmed as possible, unless if you really believe the source is correct, well, obviously you should mention that it's something that's still in development. But that's pretty good for that so far, right? And for example, in that one, the other AIs aren't as up to date. They're always more delayed. Notice in many media outlets right now, you can tell that all of them are using AI for writing. Yes, all of them. Because the
supermarket, they put, these are the 5 books, the best books according to AI. These are the best gifts for a 40-year-old woman according to AI. Or so if you are saving.
And some money like that. But here it's talking about regular news. For example, you're reading something about Trump and it says former President Trump. You say AIs act this way because they aren't updated. Many still think Trump is the former president, not realizing he's currently president. So they put their former president, Donald Trump. I don't know what. And you say, wait, it's a news outlet, and even big media outlets, right? Hire a writer who at least analyzes the information and says, what do you mean the former president? President Trump. That's really common. Pay attention to that. They always have like micro delays, right? For example, also the topic of the war with Iran. Suddenly he's reading and says, he doesn't know about the tensions in Iran and it's a war that could happen. No, it's not that it could happen. It's already happening. Oh, that was an AI that isn't up to date and they had it write a news article. So it's used a lot, especially in the media. National news, not international. They leave that to the intern, right? Someone who doesn't just take information from the agencies, right? I guess they get it from the agencies and then she goes over it and adds some kind of prompt, right? Like, I don't know, maybe add more intensity here or something. They add something to it. Yeah, but you can tell it went through someone one day. So with that data in there, Pepe Israel says he had terrorists and people who glorify them. Really about the massacre carried out by Hamas against civilians at a Nova concert and other places inside Israel. Jorge says, greetings, Jorge, how have you been? Greetings, Jorge. Silvana says, how have you been? Good evening. FB Cinema says, talking about the war in Iran. For me, yes, it will expand, and I think Russia will win. He says, Europe wins and all of Asia goes to China. For me, there would be 3 continents, America from Greenland to Antarctica. FB Cinema says, greetings, CBF. He says,
FB Cinema says, greetings, hello.
Very good. Well, thank you very much.
Greetings to Guillermo Nyong'o. Thank you.
to all the members. Thank you very much for your support. And this,
We lost audio. No, we lost it. No, we didn't. Yes, we didn't lose it. What do you
Think about the
Alfonso Galoso, how have you been?
That tells a joke. She says, what does one artificial intelligence say to another? You also pretend to understand everything.
greetings, Panterita. They're already giving you competition. Dad, be careful with that, Guillermo. How have you been? Awesome. Greetings, good evening, Leonardo. Greetings. Betsy says, I think the year of the World Cup is the best time to make military moves, space, cyber world, economy, etc. Well, yes, I think so. I mean, it's also the best time to show what the real alliances are like. And this is where I think that we're going to see interesting things. Let's say in this World Cup, we're going to see interesting things. On that topic, I suppose, I don't know what this segment is going to do regarding the UFO issue, because there's this buzz, this rumor, let's say, that they're going to say something about the topic. Not at the beginning, let's say no. Or at the closing, I think it was at the closing, because I believe the opening isn't hers. It's Mexico's turn and the closing is the United States' turn. Yes, greetings to Alfonso. Great, greetings to Bakersfield, California. Huge greetings. Guillermo says that magazine. Yes, we have to see if we can find out more about what's coming. He means the Economist one, not Economies, right? The Economist, the one that always puts out these reports.
The Economist.
We have to check it out, right? Well, hey, let's go.
Guys, remember that we're on WhatsApp and Telegram. That's where we send you notifications about the live streams, and we're also on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Great. A hug. Take care. Have an excellent day. We'll keep talking. See you later.
We interrupt your regular programming. Thank you for tuning in to The Truth. This is PP Live. The truth is intense. The extraordinary is real. We analyze it here with a global focus. Don't miss out. Tune into the channel. PP Live controlling the signal. P and Astrid, telling it like it is. Raw journalism respected here. Enable alerts, don't lose track. Until next time. Yes, sir. We're taking attendance.